It is your job as a caregiver to help take away the fear and allow parents to embrace the time that they're given with their babies, to help them experience making memories, to think of things they aren't going to know they want until the days and weeks to come. You can use our photo book, the SGM photo book, if a parent needs to see what would this look like if I allow these people to come. What do other parents do? If that visual tool would be helpful for them in making a decision or thinking through how they'd like to spend their time, the time that they're given with their baby, you can use the photo book as a tool. Not every family would be comforted by that, but some families that might be very helpful for them. We also have brochures in our website, and that information's all in the brochure. Maybe they connect with an idea, a memory-making idea on that brochure. It helps them as they're processing and thinking through the steps of what they might like to do. Use the SGM authorization form. So after you get verbal consent to reach out to SGM, you can also use that hospital authorization form, which we'll have a picture of here in a few slides, and get the parent to sign that. That grants consent so that you can communicate with SGM. We can provide virtual or in-person support that way. SGM follows hospital policies and HIPAA. So we do not discuss details of patients outside of Sufficient Grace. We don't share their pictures without permission. And so we definitely keep the privacy and the sacredness of the parent's story and the baby's story intact. Parents are often shocked in processing the news that their baby has died. And just like we mentioned, they may not know what they want. So we want to offer support gently, validating their feelings. It is best to not give too many overwhelming details unless a parent is asking for that information. So just simply saying we have a support team that we call to offer options, memory-making items, and resources to families, and they also help the nurse as she's supporting the family as well. Rather than overwhelming them with details or starting with the idea of just talking about all the pictures or all the things we can do, we offer that information, sometimes one nugget at a time, as the family is processing so much. Helpful resources are available. We've mentioned the resources throughout this training, the Dreams of You resources, the brochures, that virtual support app that we're going to talk about in a few minutes. These serve as a guide to answer some of those difficult questions for the family and for the staff. It is important to offer those as soon as possible as the parents are processing. The more information we can give them to make decisions, then they are not blindsided with questions that they have not considered. If you are uncomfortable answering those difficult questions, feel free to connect the family either through the Family Support app or the Medical Professional app. They can even set up a video chat with one of our on-call SGM Comfort team members. And we're there to support 24/7 on that on-call phone. Use the Family Support app card to present to the family so that they can use the QR code to download the Family Support app to their phone, iPad, or other mobile device. The process for connecting with us is to gain that consent from the patient first, as we mentioned. Get that signature on the hospital authorization form, and then you can use the SGM app or call us on the on-call phone. We have a nurse communication form that talks about the information we will ask for when you call, and an SGM representative will be connected with the parent and/or nurse to help create a plan with the family so that they can spend time creating precious memories with their baby. If desired, parents can use the app or phone to connect, or SGM can make the initial contact with the family to discuss a plan for their time with the baby and to offer support from a parent's perspective. If your hospital is using the iPad with our app already downloaded to it, that iPad can be used for video chat with the family or the nurse, especially in situations that may be unique where extra guidance is needed, and in those situations where SGM is not there in person. SGM will continue to be in contact with the family and/or nurse as desired throughout the process. And this is that authorization form. and the nurse communication form that we talked about. The SGM app will be provided with our partnering hospitals on the iPad, and that can be wheeled in and used with the family, or the nurse can use it separately. You can find and fill out all of the hospital parent forms, connect to the family through chat, FaceTime, Google Meet using the iPad. Use the SGM Medical Professionals app to access forms, links, videos, and helpful information when providing support to grieving parents. This is an example of what the app looks like. You can use it from your iPad or other mobile device. You can easily access the on-call phone and SGM email if you have to reach an SGM Comfort Team volunteer or staff member when you're providing support and you need to connect them with SGM or have the nurse connect with SGM. Our contact information is also available. If you are a provider at the doctor's office, you would click this link on the app. And there's a video explaining some of our resources when you're offering brochures, information, or giving a diagnosis to a family, or when you find out there is no longer a heartbeat during the pregnancy, or when you find out that a pregnancy is no longer viable. Additionally, there's an explanation of some of the resources that you may have on hand at the doctor's office that could be helpful to the families. And you can click here to return to the main page. If you're providing support at the hospital, you would go to this link. There's information here that may be helpful to you as a nurse, physician, or other staff member. Virtual support can be provided. We have a 24-hour on-call person who answers the phone to connect either with the staff member or the family or both. We will provide resources, Dreams of You resources for your hospital to have on hand as you're providing support to the families. If you provide support as a nurse and would like to connect the family later, if they've given permission to allow SGM to edit the photos for them and reach out for follow-up support, then you would have them fill out the consent form, and you can click here and begin that process. Hit start, and you'll be able to fill it out right here on the app. The parent needs to fill in all of their contact information and sign the app that gives permission for us to be involved and edit the photos, as well as their contact information to reach out to get them the photos and the support group information for after their loss. There are other forms here as well. The SGM photography editing form, the nurse communication form for if you're calling our office or one of our volunteers, the on-call phone, and this just shows some of the information on the nurse communication form that we might ask, and that can be helpful so that the nurse has that information ready at hand when she makes the phone call. This is the hospital release form that we talk about in training that you would want to, after you get that verbal permission, have the patient sign. That way that you can reach out and connect with SGM while the patient is at the hospital and start the process of virtual support. This is the QR code for the family to be able to add, if they want to directly add the family app onto their phone, then they can communicate with us through that. You can also connect the family with us through the Medical Professionals app on the iPad. There's helpful videos for staff to review bathing a fragile baby, making footprints and handprints, clay imprints, and how to use the cuddle cots and carrying cradles and other cooling devices. And there's links to our website for more information. As always, if you have any questions, you can refer to our website, email, or office phone located in the materials provided for you. The nurse will access the SGM provided camera to capture pictures. So if there's not a photographer available, or if your hospital it has trained nurses and other volunteers there providing those pictures. You will have a camera on hand in your bereavement room. Blank SD cards are available, and only one family at a time should be saved on that SD card. Throughout the process, you'll capture pictures that tell the family's story as you've been trained, and time with their baby, and post pictures of the baby. The nurse or volunteer will support the family and contact SGM as questions arise. Use those Dreams of You resources that are made available through Sufficient Grace to assist with the memory-making activities and supply the family with bereavement resources. Follow the memory-making and photography checklist to create tangible mementos and guide the parents through bathing and dressing, capturing photos, and creating an environment for parents to feel comfortable caring for their baby, no matter the condition or gestation. Allow the family to go at their own pace. Before a family leaves, make sure that they fill out the SGM consent form so that we can provide follow-up support for the family and also edit their photos and get them back to them. Having them fill out the form keeps us connected and gives us that permission. If the nurse needs to debrief with the SGM representative or even just a touch base to let them know we've finished working with this family, we've left the SD card labeled in the bereavement room, and making a plan for just follow-up support or debriefing from the call, that on-call person is available for the nurse as well. Any unique situations that occurred during the family's time there, anything that needs to be debriefed afterwards, that's available to the nurse as well. An SGM representative will reach out to the family within 2 weeks of being discharged to start their follow-up support. If photographs were taken, edited remembrance photographs will be provided to the family via Dropbox link through the email listed on their consent form. This process of editing photographs and getting them back to the family typically takes anywhere from 6 to 10 weeks. When explaining forms and paperwork to families, remember to use compassionate, parent-friendly words to explain all paperwork and procedures. Avoid using clinical language. Make sure that the parent understands what you're telling them. Allow a parent time to process and make difficult decisions. Be sensitive. This is not an everyday occurrence for this family or a clinical procedure. This is their baby. Parents will likely not know what to expect. They are looking to you for understanding and guidance to know what to do next. So many times parents will say to us that part of feeling supported for them in that moment was having someone help them know what to do next. What was the next step? What were their options? And guiding them through that process of what to do. In addition to the nurse communication form, the photography consent form, and the SGM support services consent form, the hospital has other forms that the parents would need to fill out. Autopsy consent, whether they refuse or agree to an autopsy or would like an autopsy or other postmortem testing. Birth and death certificate forms. There's also a certificate of stillbirth available in the state of Ohio, and that is for families who experience a loss during pregnancy and any gestation, and also burial or burial information or cremation information, any funeral planning. There are different forms that they would need to fill out, and offering that, answering those questions in a parent-centered way and avoiding clinical language helps the family through that process. To request supplies from SGM, it is helpful to have a designated person available that's going to be monitoring the supply inventory and reaching out to us when they need supplies replenished. We'll provide forms to submit to request supplies, and you can also send any supply requests to sgm.shipping@gmail.com. We'll provide those Dreams of You resources, any memory making supplies, a DSLR camera, clothing for babies, and other items to equip the nurses with additional materials as they support families. Occasionally, our volunteers will also be working on on unique cases, perinatal hospice cases, and other situations when it would help for us to come alongside the nurse and the family in person. Ongoing training will be provided and will include instruction on how the items should be introduced and used to support families. A hospital representative will communicate with SGM when those supplies are low. Keep plenty of brochures and other resources on hand in addition to the other items given to families.